Welcome to another episode of the Quip and Convo segment. It gives me great pleasure to have my next guest on. If I start talking about him, you'd wonder. By the time you join us in the Quip Corner, you'll understand why this had to be a Father's Day special. You'll see his bio right after this. And I look forward to seeing you in the Quip Corner. Welcome to the Quip and Convo segment of the Quip Corner with Ada Phil.
It's so good to be with you, Ada. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and just before we started, I was talking about how it was funny that I saw in my feed that I apparently had been following you for a couple years already.
Yeah, wow. Well, it's nice to see you and nice to kind of meet you this way, the Quip Queen. Good to be with you.
Thank you. So in our emails, I had sent you a couple of quips to consider, and you had chosen Quip 21, which interestingly is one of my favorites in this book. So I'll read it out and let you tell us what you think, please. Quip 21, the ability for you and your spouse to laugh with and at each other makes for a joyful atmosphere.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I have yet to meet a couple who says, our problem, we just laugh too much together. Doesn't happen, and I think both you and I have been in homes where we're thinking, oh boy, sometimes it can just be a father who is, like Martin Luther said, my own father was hard, unyielding, and relentless. I cannot help but think of God that way. And I wonder sometimes if some of us have made things just too doggone serious. And I think a lot of us have. I have friends, I can remember being at their houses and realizing this is so very different from the home I'm growing up in, because we laugh there. And despite the fact that both of my parents had been through very, very difficult upbringings and hard adult years as well, they laughed. My mom could be funny. She would say to me, eat up. I was a skinny kid. She would say, eat up. That way you're harder to kidnap. Things like that it brought some levity to the home. And I would say, your quip there is, if you're married, you better laugh. I don't think it can be done where you can have a happy marriage without laughter being in there. We had 39 years we have been married, and we haven't always laughed. Yeah. Somebody said, in a row? And I said, yeah, it can be done. And certainly it's one of the secrets is absolutely that we laugh.
Yeah.
It isn't that I understand my wife completely or that she understands me. I still don't understand my wife. I asked Siri recently, what does a woman want? And she has not stopped talking for 2 weeks. Siri has. But wherever you are in life, if you're getting older like I am, laughter is really, really good medication. And they seem to keep it under the counter and not want us to get a hold of it a lot. When we're little, we laugh a lot, but you get older and suddenly it's gone. And we need to, said to Ramona, I said, I don't even know what to wear at my age. Do I wear boxers or briefs? And she said, well, it depends. So we laugh. And I got to tell you this, just the other day, I came home and to set the story up, Ada had been, I'm a gardener. I like to grow things, tomatoes particularly, also cucumbers because I like dill pickles. And so we do those in August. And I had been growing these cucumbers, and they were 4 or 5 inches tall. But I got greedy. I put them in the oven. A friend said, "Oh, you want them to grow? Put them in there and just put the light on. And don't turn it on, of course, but just put a light on it. It's beautiful. It's maybe 90 degrees in there. It's just so cozy warm." I came in the door, and Ramona looked at me, and I could see something was terribly wrong. I thought she's crashed the car or lit the house on fire. But she said, "I baked your cucumbers." So they were 30 cucumber plants, all just baked golden brown, so she had pushed the button to get the warm, to get it going up, and then realized, well, I thank God. I haven't always done this, but I laughed. I just laughed. I did. It hit me so funny, and I think partly because I had not always done this before, and I knew I needed to, and also because our granddaughter had just been rushed by ambulance to the hospital, and her life was spared. But you just realize there's so much that isn't important in life. But those are the things that are relationships and people.
For sure. So I like how you started off by sharing how the home you grew up in was, versus the home you're building, with your wife. And congratulations on 39 years and counting. But I'm curious about the role a father has in enabling or cultivating that atmosphere of laughter, because sometimes you listen to people and it's almost like, yes, moms can laugh, children can laugh, but dad needs to be serious.
Yeah. And I've heard that from people after I speak, where I've heard it from both men and women, of course. But I think you're right. I think more often we guys can get so distracted and so, so serious. And we just need to lighten up a little bit. I do this radio program, Laugh Again, and I get responses from people that are wonderful. But then there's always the 1%. And I think I despair for you because, our kids, they need to see that we believe in God enough to trust him. And nothing shows that more quickly than a good sense of humor. When hard things come along, we lighten up. We say, okay, I can't control things, but I believe someone else is in control, much, much bigger than I, and I can trust. And I think we do that with our kids. We show them that because they desperately need it. Humor is a God-given gift. I had told a joke on the radio about a girl named Chrissy. She said to Grandpa, make a noise like a frog. And Grandpa said, why? She said, because Daddy said that when you croak, we can all go to Disneyland. And I laughed because someone said to me, you should never make fun of death. And I said, I'm sorry, but my wife lost 5 immediate family members in 1 year. If we didn't laugh, what are we showing our kids? If we didn't, in the midst of this, have joy. Psalm 126 in scripture, I think it's verse 2 or 3, it talks about what happened when God freed the captives. It says, our mouth filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. Then it was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things
amongst them.
Our kids need to say that of us, and our laughter will show it to them.
That is so true. When you were talking about death, I remember when I lost my dad, a couple of years ago, and we were at the funeral. Well, we were preparing for the funeral. And that evening, my cousins and we laughed so hard that we were crying because we just kept reliving things he'd say to people and so on and so forth. And, the atmosphere was pretty light. And there comes this lady who was coming to commiserate with us. And the atmosphere was really light. And she was like all trying to drag it down and all that. And so I said to her, it's okay. And she insisted on wanting to be the chief mourner. So I said to her, do you want me to get you a bucket for your tears?
And what did she say?
She looked at me. I can't remember if the look on her face was, is she serious? Or are you being disrespectful? You know, it was such a bewildered look on her face. And I think the tears dried up.
I think what you did is a tremendous tribute to your father. And I think it honors him. It shows that you have great memories of him.
Yeah.
And I think through the years, those are the kind of things that keep, them alive. My parents in the same way. My dad was a funny guy with see, I just let my hair, it went away, but I didn't comb it over like he did. He had a comb over to die for it. It got down to about here when he pulled it down. And the grandchildren braided it, They knew he was safe to laugh around and be real. So I think, those memories keep coming back to us, and they're joyful memories. They're sad sometimes.
Yeah.
And we miss them. But you honored him greatly, I believe, by sharing laughter with your siblings, with cousins.
Yeah. I mean, and he had an amazing sense of humor, Talking about my father and his sense of humor, is humor hereditary?
Yeah, poverty is hereditary. You get it from your kids. You get it from your kids. But no, I think so. I think, we just, my dad, I mean, one of the things he did that isn't COVID friendly, he was gone by the time COVID came along. I don't know how they would have lived, dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia. They lived with us for 5 years when that was going on. Dad came by me. I was sitting at the table, and he came by, and I think he had a sneeze come on, and he must have made a split-second decision. He pulled back my collar, and he just sneezed down my neck. And he only did it. I've passed this on to each of my children at some point in their lives. But Dad had a great sense of humor, despite the fact that he grew up in a family where gunshots in the house were regular occurrences, where an uncle was shot in front of him in their house. It was that bad. Alcohol was usually the trigger. And, I tell people, my dad was part Scotch and part club soda, but it's true. And, they saw a sign, drink Canada Dry, and they gave it their best shot. And then God came along and changed his life.
Amen.
And the joy was there. My goodness. The joy, despite, being the trauma of going through Second World War, and the tears that would come down sometimes at night as he's just sitting there.
Yeah.
But there's great, great joy that I believe only comes from, we were just in Israel, as you know, Ada, and to being there at the Garden Tomb. And the guide said to us, 300,000 people a year come to this spot to see something that isn't here.
Oh, wow.
That Christ is risen.
Risen. Amen.
That's the thing that gives us incredible joy. And our kids need to see it. Those around us need to see it.
Yes. And I agree with you. Well, thank you again for being my guest in the Quip Corner with Ada. You've just, offloaded so much. And I know that this is a teeny weeny bit of all that you have to offer the world. So thank you so much.
God bless you and keep you smiling. It's wonderful.
Amen. Yeah. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
God bless you.
And you take the rest of the day off now, okay?
Oh, okay. Thank you. You are so kind.
Okay. God bless you.
Bye. Oh, I laughed quite a bit in that video. I don't know if you even noticed that I was almost crying from laughing. It was a true pleasure and privilege to have Phil Callaway with me. 39 years and counting of marriage. Wishing them many more years together and, of course, years of laughter. You'll see information on how to contact Phil philcallaway.com, but you'll see that information below this video. And he has some amazing books. Yes, I'll put a link to his website. You know, you'll understand when you check him out. Thanks again for joining me in the Quip Corner on this very special occasion. Happy Father's Day to all fathers out there. Keep that laughter atmosphere in your homes. And God bless you. Bye now.